wherever it is in your part of the world. I hope you're having a great time. I've been threatening to do this for a long time, and for anybody that's watched any of the previous broadcasts, you'll know that I have said several times that I will go through my whole livery library and talk about each car and at least preview it. I obviously will not do that in one episode. I'm mindful that everybody has a life, attention spans and interest spans being what they are. I certainly couldn't do it in one episode, so I don't know how many episodes it'll be. I'm probably going to do an hour a time, and I'll be interested to see how many cars I get through. What I'm going to do first, though, is set up a party for chat, just in case anybody jumps on Gran Turismo Sport and sees the party. Okay, it's created. It's my login name, which is F30330IM Sport, and I won't invite anybody at this stage, but I will get back to what we're going to do. So the way I thought I'd do this would be to go from oldest design to newest design, and the reason I've chosen to do that is because I think it will also give a good insight into my own development of my livery design skill sets, because I think it's fair to say my first and early attempts at creating custom liveries was not that great. As you know, not that I wasn't trying, but I think learning the tools, learning some of the tricks of using the tools, certainly only acquired as you continue to do more and more. Now, the first thing I want to say is you'll see there on the screen that it's saying 305 cars. I do not have 305 custom liveries. I have about 270 roughly. Anyway, so as I said, date acquired. So all of my cars are going to be intertwined amongst the cars that I haven't done liveries for. So just bear with me, because I'm going to have to do a bit of fishing to locate some of the early cars. I think what I hope is that you'll see that there is a lot of variety in my designs. I just saw one that's fairly early, but I'll go past it because it wasn't the first. And I also hope that you enjoy what I'm about to do, and please put comments on YouTube. Please type comments in the chat on the broadcast, and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. I thought that would have been the first one, but interestingly it's taking me back further. So I better just go right to the bottom. Okay. I can tell you now that is not my first design. That could have been, but I think it was actually this one. I think. But look, let's kick off from the bottom here, and then I can work my way up. Now, like I said, they're the other Ferraris that I've built since, so it'll be interesting to see the differences in the livery. That is actually in chronological order too. That's the last Ferrari Group 3 car I did a livery for. Anyway, let's go in and have a look. So, very early on, when I realized that you could do liveries, I was obviously interested, because I like the idea of creating your own vehicle, that it's yours, it's unique, and discovering the livery tool and what it could do obviously caused me to want to experiment. So I don't know really what to say about this design, except it's not finished. And I think what it probably says more than anything was that when I started, I really didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have a clue what went well together. I didn't know how to use the tools. What I can tell you is that's all done one by one, so each octagon, or whatever that ellipsoid shape is, or parabolic shape, I can't remember what the correct description is for those forms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heptagon, I think. Anyway, they were duplicated, then placed one by one with the little box, and I obviously got to a point where I probably wanted to race more than do livery design, and so I obviously stopped. It's interesting, I didn't realise that I hadn't finished this car. That will be a little bit of a project for me. I think the other thing too is there's so much to discover in the livery tool. I do not know what the total combination would be, but it would be in the millions. It would be, you know, to a magnitude of 6, 7 or 8, because I think there's over 300 colours. Then you've got the colour palette, and if you think about the colour palette, you can go vertically 100 units or increments, and you can go horizontally 100 increments, and you can slide the colour scale, I believe 100 increments as well. So it's 100 times 100 times 100 on there. So that's, you know, that's the extent of the colours, but that won't give you some of the colours, i.e. this colour here, which is a what they call a flake metallic. You can see it in the paint just there. Yeah, you can see the fleck. Anyway, so this car is not finished, but I believe it was one of my first. I don't know, like, part of me wants to finish it and part of me wants to start again. But I might persevere with it. I don't know. Maybe. Okay. One down. So I apologise that there is, as far as I'm aware, no easier way to do this, but other than to do what I'm doing right now. Okay, so I'm fairly confident that either that car or that car were the next. So let's go with this. Actually, I'm going to say this one was next. So again, just to clarify, date acquired doesn't necessarily correlate to when I did the livery. As I said, I was getting cars. You get gift cars as you go through the licensing phase and then the other training phases. So you know, I was getting cars left, right and centre without really knowing or being focused on the livery editor, because you're obviously trying to achieve certain levels to get to certain points to allow you to do certain things in the game. So I'm pretty sure this was a pretty early one, and this one was done on the really quickly, and you can tell it was done really quickly because look at the windscreen. It doesn't have the border right around the window frame, and that's a sure sign that I was in a hurry. And I remember a group of my friends, Taz, old school, Harry, they decided they wanted to race Mustangs, and they'd been playing the game for a bit longer than me, GTSPORT that is. And so I had to quickly go and buy one, and the rule we have is that you cannot come into a room with a standard car, you have to give it its own livery. So this was effectively a 5-minute job, And again, I don't know the thoughts on the colour combination again. At this point in time, I certainly wasn't familiar with the tool. Certainly didn't know how to make more harmonious and striking designs, and how to create all the shapes and lines and things like that. Good car to drive, by the way, for an old car. It's a very nice car, this Mustang, to drive. Alright, let's look at the GTR. Now what I might do is cheat, because I know that it's the GTR. Maybe I should do it by brand. Would that be a smarter way, maybe? I think it might be. Listen. Okay, this was the first GTR that I did. And again, I think you'll probably see some similar themes coming through, because it was pretty much a case of just doing them to be able to take it out onto the track with the boys. So not a lot of time and effort spent on the design, and obviously I've never gone back to the design to complete it, or what I would regard as completing it. Not much to see. Look, I'm going to keep going by date acquired, only because I said I would, and it probably makes more sense too. So after I created that one, then I got a bit more adventurous. Interesting. I'll find the one I'm looking for in a second. It was just here and now it's disappeared. Don't know how it does that. Ah, there it is. Oh, you see the original version of it right there, which was done in September last year. But then, some 27 minutes later, I obviously changed my mind and ended up with this. So this, I suppose, was kind of like the start of me dabbling in shapes. So this is basically a chrome paint, red chrome paint, and I've grabbed the triangle shape out of the livery editor shapes and just set about positioning triangles. And then I also obviously started doing inset duplication, I'll call it. So you can see again at this point, I don't know if you would regard this as a cohesive design or a design that appears to show any level of planning. It's quite ad hoc. I don't even know whether I like it. It's a very interesting combination, that's for sure. If anything, I would probably change the colours to maybe blend better. Anyway, that's something you can do. For those of you who aren't familiar with using Livery Editor, I do have the odd broadcast where I talk a bit about some of the functions of it. So please look out for those in my list of videos. Yeah, it's not comprehensive, but I do target certain things, and I will do more talking about how do you use the tool and some of the tricks and tips to get around tricky things like interesting surfaces like the wheel arches in particular. They are challenging. Okay. It would be nice if you could just take out all of the cars. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. So that you are only looking at the liveries that you have created. It would make this process very quick, or much quicker anyway. Okay, so I'm pretty confident that the next car that I did wasn't a GTR. I think it was a Lamborghini. And showing my age here, but the hero car for me growing up, or the poster car that sat on the wall in most people's places, was the Lamborghini Countach when I was a teenager. And there's my 3 Countaches. Again, you'll see an evolution between those cars as well. So, some interesting things about this design. As you can see, my capacity to finish off tricky edges was non-existent at the time of making this vehicle. Although I did okay there by the look of it. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Yeah. I don't know what to say really. I think the words keep trying and terrible come to mind. It's not great. It may be okay when it's finished, but as I look at it, I kind of think to myself, it's one thing to have a bold colour scheme, it's another thing to have a tasteless colour scheme. And I'm not quite sure that that reflects taste. I'm sure there are people out there that might like it, but yeah, it's not. I haven't even changed wheels, which is very unusual for me to keep standard wheels. So I'm going to say that was a project I never finished, but I'll have to get back to it. Alright, let's jump to the next car. So the next car, you may have noticed it or you may not have. So if this is hurting your eyes as I scroll down, maybe I'll just do it like that so you don't have to watch. I just saw it a minute ago. And again, some of these paint colours, in terms of what you're seeing, is that early on in the game you don't get access to all of the paint. Every Tuesday night there's a little activity called a mileage exchange for people that don't play the game or don't play the game regularly, and each week that gets refreshed, and with your mileage credits, as they call them, you can see them up there on the up in the top of the little display bar or ribbon where it says 84,469. They're my mileage exchange credits, and you can use them to buy paint and wheels and other things like helmets and course cars or safety cars. Anyway, so this is obviously a WRX. .22B was a fabulous car when it came out for the money. The performance of it was pretty impressive. It looked quite an aggressive car. They didn't sell many, so I think they're probably worth a bit of money now. And whilst I was never what I'd call a fan of WRXs, I thought they were pretty average looking, and whatever. I did quite like the 22B. So you can see again a chrome paint. I don't know why, I just found the chrome paints at the time were attractive to me. And I've obviously not put any decals on it, so it's a pretty clean car, except for the matching bumper front and bumper rear. Interestingly, this one doesn't have my YouTube channel name on it or an actual number plate, so again that's an indication of it being a very early vehicle. So from the WRX, I think the Mustang that I saw near it was probably the next car. Yeah. So again, when you see a design that looks like this, my yeah, so this kind of design basically is indicative of the fact that I had to quickly buy the vehicle and equip it with a livery for racing with my friends. And I think so far this one certainly has had the most beating with the ugly stick. It's not what you would call attractive. SS ridicule, well yes, maybe that was my intention, to be ridiculed for a horrible design. And certainly I've achieved that, because it is a ridiculous design. What can I tell you? The stars, standard decal. Standard decal in the shapes section of the livery editor. I think that's about as much as I can say about that design. Moving along. I believe the next car I had a try at doing a livery for may have been a Mini. Somewhere here there's a Mini. Not sure if that's the one. Let's have a look. I think it might have been July. Again, this was one of the cars that was created so I could race with the boys, and I hadn't acquired it already, so it was a case of quickly buying it, jumping into the livery editor, and within the space of 10 to 20 minutes coming up with something as a livery. It's not absurdly bad, but it's certainly not a masterpiece either. Yeah. Okay. There you have it. My first Mini. I've done one or two others since, and I think they look better. And after that Mini, fairly confident that I did the Porsche. I don't believe it was any of these cars down here. Now that's the original design that was finished, but this is the current design. I did a refresh of it in January according to that. And this car actually also has the honour of being the car that I've driven the most. So what I did was I updated the wheels. I added those decals on the side of the car, which is basically Porsche facing itself like a mirror look. I updated the striping, which is different to what it was in the first iteration of the car. Added the number plate from memory. Also obviously fixed the roof stripes. Added the Porsche livery to the rear wing. Did a little bit of work around those rear ducts, those brake suck out ducts just there, here. Put my name on it, so hence it's got the Iflowboy at YouTube, and that's about it. Fun car to drive. The Porsches have fantastic sounds, you know, gearbox clunking and stuff like that. It's just really enjoyable to drive. So after the Porsche, I think there was a BMW that I designed, an E30. And again, it's not about when they were acquired, it's when I did the livery. There it is. So by this stage of doing designs, I'd gotten a bit more bold. Now again, this vehicle had different wheels when I first did it. It actually had the what I call the traditional tap with the hammer center bolt piece like you'd see in old Ferraris. I love those wheels, they look fantastic, and they look really good on this car, but I did do a refresh of its wheels in the last 3 months, so that could be why it didn't appear right at the bottom. I don't know. But yeah, this was one of the earliest ones I did, probably the boldest. Obviously my first foray into using decals when I discovered the livery library, I'll call it, within the game, or within PlayStation Network anyway, as part of the game. Yeah, and I also discovered car shows at this point as well, so this car got entered a few times. I'm happy to say that it won a few times too. Great little car to drive too, sounds good. Okay, now I need to find a BMW M6. I'm going to go to the bottom, work my way back up. The M6 is not in white, and I might take a break after this, so I think I might do 30-minute episodes. I'm mindful of how busy people are and how well they can take in more than half an hour of this. Where are you? Shouldn't be hard to find a BMW M6, should it? This is very bizarre. I actually spent a lot of time racing this M6 when I got it. It's really weird. I can't see it. How bizarre, I did not spot my M6 in any of that list. Alright, let's try this. It'll be here somewhere. Ah. Now, this vehicle livery is not the actual original livery that I did for it, as you could tell by the fact that the picture you saw was green and yellow. So I actually originally painted this car in an Australian theme, colour-wise, being green and gold. However, to me, as I looked at it over the last couple of months, I just found it to be dated, I guess is the word I'll use. So I embarked upon building another one, and this is it. Obviously not really finished, I might add, the respray. But getting there. Alright, next one. Actually, no. I'm not going to do a next one because it's 33 minutes and I said I would end this broadcast when I finish this one. Is there anything I need to say about it? Great car to drive as a race car. Fairly easy to paint. Sounds good to drive. It's probably all the important things. So on that note, I am going to end the broadcast and I will do another one shortly, and they'll become the series. So this is episode 1. We'll see how many series I have to do to get through all the cars. But thank you very much for listening and for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. The more people I get to have as my subscribers, the more chance I get goodies from Google/YouTube, and I can keep making things that you guys like to see. It's obviously not my full-time job, but I'm happy to invest the time if you guys are happy to subscribe. So please do just follow the instructions on your YouTube user console effectively to subscribe to my channel, and that would be most appreciated. Alright, enjoy the rest of your evening, and this is Iflowboy signing off for GT Sport Livery Library Expose Episode 1. Goodbye.